The Evermore podcast is now sponsored by WFST Total Compliance. WFST provides fire safety requirements UK-wide to prepare you and your employees should the worst happen. Do what you do best and visit wfst.co.uk today. Enjoy the episode.
Let's go!
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the Evermore YouTube channel. It's Monday night. It's 10 p.m. Me and Mark are asking the same question we ask every Monday night. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on, Mark. We're livid that the Scouse Mackhams didn't get fucking battered by Leicester, aren't we, mate? That's what's going on.
Yeah, that was disappointing in the end, wasn't it? Definitely a disappointment.
It was. To be fair, though, it was and it wasn't, because I'm so glad that we are nowhere near this ugly relegation scrap this season, because it's the worst season probably to ever be involved in the relegation picture. Was it 1 point is covering how many teams did you say, Mark? About 4 teams?
1 point covers 4 with four games to go. I mean, it couldn't be tighter down there now, could it? It is. It's not looking good for some. I don't think a point helps Everton tonight. I know we've straight off Newcastle content, but I don't think a point helps Everton tonight with their running. I think they're in trouble. I think Leeds are probably in trouble really as well. It could be those two that go along with Southampton.
Wow. We don't give a fuck, really, do we?
Try more.
Exactly. We're at the other end of the table. I'm sure we'll get stuck in a minute. But just before we do, as we always say, if you're new to the channel, you're just checking us out for the first time, please consider subscribing. We'd love you to come and join us. We are on over 3,160 subscribers, I think, now, which is amazing. So many new ones. Click the button. Really appreciate that. We love bringing this content. We love having more members on board. It's really good to see. We're live tonight as well. So jump in the comments, as a lot of you have done already. BT was in early doors. Good evening to you, BT. He says 3 more wins, and we are there. Absolutely. We've got Derek in the house. Just 4 more points, as long as one is versus Brighton. Absolutely. We've got Alex in the house as well. That draw didn't help Everton or Leicester. Honestly, I'd rather see them both go down. Superb. Les is in the house as well. Good evening to you too, Les. And we'll get stuck into loads more comments in a minute, but we'll get right into Newcastle United content, Mark, because as I said, we're at the other end of the table, which is amazing to see. Everyone check your passport, get yourself on a plane. We are fucking off, because European football is guaranteed after we handed Southampton their arse at the weekend, Mark. It was a lot harder than we thought it was going to be, the first half in particular. But just before you get stuck into it, I've got to say this. I think the flack that Anthony Gordon is getting is a little bit unfair. I've got to say that. He seems to be getting really derided by a lot of the members of the fan base who almost... I seen somebody put something out earlier on that said he's worse than Chris Wood, which blew my fucking mind, to be honest with you. And the Everton fans have apparently been chirping away saying, thanks for the 45 million quid and everything else. One Everton fan even said he'll be playing championship football in 3 years. Well, he would have been playing it next year had he been staying with you anyway. So there's my point of that one. But firstly, Mark, the game of the weekend and a bit about Gordon. Do you think he's getting unfair stick?
Look, it's been a relatively slow start, but he's young. He's only played a handful of minutes, really. He's had, 3 starts now. Yes, I think over that time you want a little bit more. But look, first half against Southampton, actually, he was probably the shining light of that first half, because the first half, let's be fair, was fairly average. And he was the one that had, 2 or 3 chances to really put Newcastle ahead. He had the one that went just into the side net, and he had the one that hit the outside of the post. But it's coming from, I think 1 goal will breed a massive amount of confidence for him, or 1 assist, something along those lines. But he did well in a pretty average sort of performance overall in the first half for the side. A tactical switch at half time isn't a slight on Gordon. Newcastle needed to change it up completely, and I think he was just the unlucky one to have been.
That's why he got a squad come on.
Exactly, and look, he was the unlucky one because he was playing predominantly down that left-hand side. If you're going to move Alexander Isak anywhere, it's going to be out onto that left-hand side to accommodate Wilson, and that's exactly what happened. Wilson looked every inch the striker that we know Callum Wilson can be. And unfortunately for Gordon, it was just he was the sacrifice. It wasn't I don't think there's a slight on his performance at all. Newcastle just needed something different, and his time will come. Absolutely will come.
Yeah, a lot of people are agreeing with the comments. Les, they're saying that his time will come as well. He'll be better next season. I mean, I think as you rightly say, Mark, with the mix of players that we've got, I mean, Gordon still isn't quite up to match fitness, really, is he? I mean, I think Craig Hope said it. I think Keith Downey said it as well in terms of that tweet. And Eddie Howe's even said it. He came to Newcastle short of what he would call peak match fitness. Now, we're talking about Eddie Howe's peak match fitness here, a manager that wants you to press and press and press, who says intensity is our identity. So if Gordon's come from a team where he's not been maybe set up to have that level of stamina after, training sessions and physical endurance and everything else, he is going to be off the pace. So it is going to take him time. It doesn't help he had that little ankle injury, didn't help. He's been in and out the side. It didn't help that he had the little spat at Brentford. So all these little things are just teething problems, I think, Mark, as well. But let's get it right. Murphy was ineffective, right? Probably more so in the first half. Murphy was lucky he wasn't hooked, Mark, I think, over Gordon, because at least Gordon did something. Murphy did very little, I thought, in that first half. He can consider himself lucky.
Yeah, there were a few that could hang their heads on the first half performance. It wasn't great. It was a bit of a nothing sort of first half either way, really. But I mean, it's just, I think it's this bandwagon, isn't it? That people don't. The Everton fans already jumped on it after to sort of the pre-Goodison game at Goodison. It didn't help that piece that Talkshite came out with from was it Jack something or other that wrote it and was like, well, Eddie Howe proved right in hooking Gordon at half time. Yes, it was a tactical switch. It wasn't just it was hooking Gordon. It was a tactical switch for the side. It then followed in with all the tweets from Everton fans going, no, fuck off. Honestly, look, you're pretty much going to be playing in the Championship next season. Shut the fuck up and get on with your own problems. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly, mate. See, even you're angry because you're swearing. That tells me they've touched the nerve with you, mate. You're normally the calm one. Oh, hello. Speaking of carnage, speaking of chaos, right on cue. Our guest presenter has destroyed Mark's studio, as you can hear there. So I'll continue on with the Gordon talk. But yeah, I mean, I think the change had to be made. I mean, Wilson, obviously fresh coming on, full of goals. He's had an unbelievable April as well. He's breaking records there, but he just looked dead sharp, looked dead hungry. As Mark says there, I think putting Isak out to the left-hand side was just a no-brainer. And Isak was kind of anonymous in the first half. And I think when he went to the left-hand side, he grew into the game. Mark's back after fixing his house up from being smashed by the kitty cat. I'm just saying that when you put Isak out there, Mark, you're right. He came to life. He did the kind of thing he was doing against Everton. He was skinning players. He's got such quick feet and he's so dangerous. I mean, I think people have made a really good point, though. I don't want to see Isak out there all the time because I think you lose him through the middle. But I think I said this in my post-match. A bit like Bruno being a hybrid midfielder, Isak's a hybrid forward. He can play right across the front. He can be on the wings. He can be through the middle. He can drop in a 10. And any one of those positions, he's just as effective and just as dangerous. But when you have a player like Callum Wilson, it looks bang back at it again, looks sharp, looks fit, looks hungry. There's arguably very few little poachers better than Callum Wilson, Mark, isn't there, in this league that can just take those chances the way he does? Especially the first one. What a finish that was, man. The way he changed his body shape.
Well, I put a text in our group chat, didn't it? How he manages to change his feet at the last minute to try and he then steers the ball up and over the.
Like a scoop chip or something, like 10
times. And I can't understand how he manages to. I would have broken every single bone in my body trying to do that. Yeah, exactly, David.
He needs to let it out, David. He needs to let it out. Run free.
Honestly, yeah, he's got a place in the garden soon. I tell you. But no, look, I think we probably owe Callum Wilson a massive apology because, and I saw this tweeted out from somebody earlier on saying, it was only a month ago people were writing him off, and to be fair, we looked and gone, look, if his performances continued the way they were, he was probably out the door in the summer because there was nothing working for him. He wasn't getting really anywhere near the chances that he would normally get. He wasn't getting into the positions he would normally get into. He looked completely ineffective. April's come around and he's just gone nuts. What is it? 8 goals in April, which beats Shearer's
record.
So
Shearer got 5 in one game, didn't he?
5 in one game. So it's look, he's been absolutely phenomenal. I think 3 of those is it 6 or something have come off the bench as well, or something along those lines. So he's been
possibly. Yeah, because didn't he get some against West Ham? No, he started against West Ham, didn't he?
He started against West Ham.
He
got, I can't remember the stat. Anyway, he's just been exceptional. And you're right in terms of he's a proper forward. He can play right across that side. We've seen that against Southampton twice now on both wings. He torched them down the right-hand side at St James's Park in the Cup. He's done the same thing on the left-hand side in the league. There was that moment where he was surrounded by 3 players again in the second half, a little bit like Everton, and just cut through the middle of them as if they weren't there. And you just look and go, this lad is absolutely phenomenal, and it's frightening how good he is at 23. He's just going to get better.
Good question by Kev again. We'll keep asking him. Can they play together? I
think there are scenarios when yes, and we've seen that. The Fulham game, this game, you look for situations in games where it can work, and I think against somebody like Southampton, absolutely it can work, because you've got the mobility of Isak and you've got the finishing ability of Wilson, and look, the pair of them again, second half were absolutely sensational.
Absolutely. David saying you might need a cat box. Yeah, maybe we should start like a little donation drive in the super chat to get you a cat box just for Monday night. So we can have a cat cam. We can possibly put a cat cam on your crazy feline. Yes, Ash, you have missed some quality cat action. You might want to rewind back and just listen.
It wouldn't be Monday night without the cat going absolutely bananas.
It really we might actually have to rename the show "What's Going On with That Fucking Cat?" and just put a question mark at the bottom of it, possibly just in brackets, maybe just as like a subtext.
I think I might start incorporating him in the thumbnails, just for if you know, you know. Do you know what I mean? People are looking and go, "What on earth is that?"
Yeah,
but if you know, you know.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, just be like, "Where's Wally? Where's the cat? Where's the cat?" But certainly that sound was like reminiscent of like Jurassic Park when the footprints started landing, and just the carnage that ensued after it. We got to Coy in the comments. Good to see you, pal. He said that's why you should never be so quick to write people off. Absolutely, we all learned a lesson with Joe Litton, and there's your little mate there in the background as well. David said Madison looked great again tonight. Apart from the pen, got to buy him. Lovely through balls as well, slipping through to Vardy. I mean, to be fair to Vardy, Leicester's biggest problem is they never replaced Vardy. In his pomp, he was brilliant, but he shot to pieces now. Last night, I watched a bit of him tonight. He was fucked, wasn't he, by the end of it? Like, you could barely walk.
I don't think he's played 90 minutes in quite a while, and look, he was tired as the game went on. It was Iheanacho. Was he injured? So
I think so.
They miss him because he's been very good. I think they could have desperately done with him tonight. But I mean, Vardy has been absolutely exceptional, and he showed exactly what he's all about with that goal. To then, I mean, the second one where he hits the bar, immediately after Calvert-Lewin fluffs his lines. I still don't understand how Calvert-Lewin misses that. It is unbelievable.
I mean, he wears bras and knickers, as the Everton fans say, isn't it? That's generally why.
Well, that was the Everton Spaces line.
It was on too tight.
Look, that miss was almost like reminiscent of Carnew's miss when he put it over the bar from underneath the bar. That's how close it was. Just unbelievable. But enough about them.
Yeah, good comment by Sean. He thinks that Madison looks lazy. That's interesting. Too lazy for Newcastle potentially. So that's an interesting one. Yeah, let's see how that one plays out, Sean. Comment from Jake as well. He says, popular opinion, but Gordon was our bright spot. I thought so as well, Jake, to be fair, in the first half. I mean, if he puts that shot half an inch to the left, he scores the opening goal, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah, to be fair, Jake, I'm not entirely sure that's an unpopular opinion. I think the vast majority of sensible human beings would look at the first half and go, do you know what? Anthony Gordon was actually pretty good.
Sorry, David's done me with that comment. It'd be like Frank Spencer if we saw that in the background, just the cat hanging and swinging and just tearing down your shells. I can hear him. Honestly. It's like Jaws. Honestly, we need like some music for him.
He's fine. You wouldn't know it, but I've got two in here, and one of them's quiet, and the other one's goes nuts. And I have a feeling they're going to start having a scrap in a minute. So this will be WWE live.
Yeah. Only on Monday nights, everybody. Click that subscribe button. You don't see cats beating the shit out of each other on every YouTube channel, do you? But when you tune in here, you certainly do. David does say he wants Everton relegated. So do I, mate. Absolutely shit. Stinking up the Premier League. They're absolutely horrendous. Jules is saying it's cat sabotage. That's what it is. I think the cat must work for another podcast, Jules, and they're just coming to sabotage our channel. That's what it is. It's been sent by somebody else. That's what it is. You know, somebody who steals guests. Ooh, don't get me started again.
I was going to say because the one cat was from south of the river. My dog's from Sunderland.
Well, that explains it. It's not buying Macam pets, mate. That's exactly what it is.
Cooper's a rescue, so I've actually no idea where he's come from.
Did you rescue him from Sunderland? Is that what he did?
No, well, we rescued him from a foster home, totally off topic, from north of the river. But where he came from before that, I've no idea. I mean, the depths of hell, probably. But
wherever that cat come from, it's very warm, and there's people who have many sins, I must admit. That's a great comment by Carl. It's a mole for the NUSC. Excellent, mate. It's got tattoos, Mark. Check it. It's got tattoos on its arm. Mum and dad, like a bulldog heart in the arm or something. Sensible Monica saying Gordon started brightly, was a focal point of our attack. I must admit, Bruno and everybody was trying to find him all the time, weren't they? But he did fade. He needs to mature as well, and I'm sure he'll be better once that comes. Definitely, I think once he has a pre-season as well, and he gets used to the way how he wants to play, I definitely think he is going to be a much more important player to us next season. And Jake says there that he just thinks it's Twitter mongs attacking him. I agree with that. Same people want to head of Joe Linton, Miggy Murphy, etc. And they'll all be for him once he starts standing out under how. That's a fair point, mate. That's a fair point. Kevin saying Black Cat was at Goodison Park one day. John Akers in final score. I do remember that Black Cat at Goodison Park. I also remember a cat in the Old Firm derby, I think, at one point. It's just memory serves we go back. I'm sure it was a cat in the Old Firm derby. That wasn't one of yours, though, mate. Does it roll up its cat sleeves before it starts? Absolutely, Jules. It really does. Well, listen, we're going right off topic. We're talking about cats too much. So, going back to the game, obviously, Wilson changes the game. Isak looked sharp as well. I thought Miggy looked a little bit better than he did against Everton. He looked really poor against Everton. I thought he lost the ball way too much, but he looked a bit more sharp with a bit more focus. I still think that offside's bullshit for me, Mark. I don't know how anyone could call that as a clear offside because you can't see whose foot that hits off for Wilson's disallowed, mate.
I think it's a bit of a double deflection, and I think it does just brush the back of his boot, and therefore by that point, it has to. It's given as offside. It's so close, but look, it's one of those where put that. I always say that, and trying to be the level-headed at this point, put at the other end what you're screaming for, and if that happens at the other end, you are screaming that it's given as offside. And I always look at it like that. That if it's going to be given, what would you expect it to be given at the other end? And that's, I think it's so unbelievably tight. But I come back to the 30-second rule, and Keith Hackett talked about this before as well. Look, if it can't be given within 30 seconds, it's not clear and obvious.
Not given at all. Absolutely, don't give it at all.
That took another couple of minutes to decide. It was so slow. The fact that we need VAR specialists, we don't need referees in there. We need VAR specialists on this that are paid to do that job, not in and out and in and out and in and out. They need to be bang at it every single time, and that just took too long. And it comes back to that rule. If you can't do it within that time, it's not clear and obvious, and the decision on the field, stands.
Yeah, just a comment there from Ash saying, what do we think about Bruno apologising for being shit yesterday? I don't think Bruno was shit. I did see him apologise. I mean, I think that's just Bruno's way. Ash, isn't he? He wants to take it all on board unless he's had an unbelievable game. He totally fancied the goal, didn't he, towards the end? I remember seeing him. He was trying to smash shots left, right, and centre at the back of the net, wasn't he? Because he fancied the goal against Southampton, but obviously it didn't come. So maybe that's why he was apologising for being shit potentially. Little comment there from Kevin. I remember seeing a chicken running around Ewood Park. That was just Stuart Ripley, I think, man. Kevin Pryor was refereeing in this season's Premier League. It's been the worst it's ever been. Without using VAR properly, absolutely 100%. We've got Stephen Field saying Leicester keeper was good. He was actually really good. But after the night, he's not sure about Maddison. A couple of people have been a little bit unsure about Maddison. Kevin saying Bruno is so humble. Absolutely. Another one saying I don't see us buying Maddison. He'll be too expensive. We are going to cover some transfers in a minute, guys, just to get into that. And you'd imagine his wage demands will be pushing up a bit too high as well. Chronicle gave Bruno 8 out of 10. If that's a bad performance, bring on a good one. I think with Bruno, Mark, just before we shift on to the next section, is Bruno's standards are so high. I mean, it's pretty clear he's carrying this ankle injury, and it is kind of debilitating, him a little bit because he can't be everything he wants to be. But he's still class, though, even with an ankle injury.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at SofaScore, he got a 7.4. He's got 87% passing pretty much. He's got 3 big chances or 3 key passes. He won, 11 of 20 duels. He was good. I mean, you want a little bit more control on that left foot volley that he puts wide in the first half. I think if he buries that, the floodgates open. I think at that point. I thought he had a solid game. He come out and apologised. He was good. That was by far and away a million miles from his worst game for Newcastle. But look, I love the fact that he's come out and just said, no, I don't feel I played well. That's the measure of a player that just continually wants to improve and wants to be better for the club and for the fans and the players around him. Look, you love that. Absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Good comment from Carl. Just look like people were flat for 2 reasons. We played our 3rd game in a week. That's a good point, Carl. And also Wilson looks good. And that's why, absolutely, yeah. Well, I mean, Wilson does look totally sharp and ready for it, doesn't he? Sensible Monica saying, I think this apologising culture bullshit. Spurs, Leeds, and now Bruno. We pay our money and we take the chance. Yeah, it's fair enough. I'm going to talk about Leeds in a second, actually, as well.
I get that comment, to be fair, because look, football's football. Teams win, teams lose. Look, if you lose, you lose. I mean, it happened. We talked about this the other week when Newcastle got beat. Look, these games happen. You don't have to. It doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to be the start of some dreadful run. Shit happens. You go into any game and you can get beaten by anybody. Southampton proved that against Arsenal, where they sort of nearly came away with that. They've Brentford have beaten Man City. All sorts has gone on this season. Just because you lose a game, it's not the end of the world. I get this. I sort of get this Spurs thing because Spurs were so bad in the game at St James's Park that they had to really do something for the fans. But you're absolutely right. You buy your ticket, and any one of 3 results is possible. So.
Hold on the Leeds one, though. Hold on the Leeds one. We'll get into that in a second. But yeah, just Jules is off the sleep after a 4-hour drive back. Good night to you, Jules. Thanks for tuning in. Watch us back on the replay. So appreciate you jumping in.
Take care.
But yeah, so just moving on just slightly to look at the remaining fixtures just to pull this up. So I mean, we are in pole position for Champions League. We're guaranteed Europe now, regardless, because of the fantastic season that we've had. But we're sitting 3rd, 65 points after 33 games. You can see Man U are 4th, 2 points behind us. Liverpool are obviously 9 points behind us there. So I don't think they'll catch us. Spurs are way away. I think Villa's got more chance of overtaking Spurs, and then Brighton obviously are sitting in 8th. But be a good season for Brighton as well. Certainly for us and Brighton being 2 promoted sides. But obviously we have Arsenal next. But just to talk about somebody we've got after that, right? And I really hope we fucking smash this lot. So, and apologies to my mate Phil, the Leeds fan. Everyone's probably seen this on social media already, but just to regale anybody who hasn't. So, Leeds United got battered off Bournemouth at the weekend. I'm not going to get too into other teams, but there was a video going by viral, that is, of the Leeds players walking past with their headphones on, phones in their hands, ignoring the fans. And in particular, there was this one little boy, must have probably been about what, Mark, 8, 9 or something, if that. And he's in his full kit with his little autograph book out, waving at the players. And not one of those shithouses even looked at the lad, acknowledged him, even waved back. And they've come out with this bullshit fake apology. They've apologized about the game, right? I'm not bothered about that. They've come out with this completely fake bullshit apology for ignoring the supporters. And I'm not having it, mate. I mean, even to be fair to the Leeds fans, right? And I've got a lot of time for Leeds fans, right? Leeds fans have totally buried them as well on social media for behaving this way. But just a little sidestep away from Newcastle for a minute, mate. How fucking disgraceful is that by Leeds?
It boils your piss, doesn't it? Especially when it's young kids that are there, because that's an impression that you're leaving on that kid from your team. I get if they've been told not to sign anything for people that are there. There are times when clubs tell players not to go and sign stuff if there's people there that they know are then trying to sell on it. That sort of thing. I sort of get that, but not even acknowledge them. They've all come out, all headphones on, they've just walked, blinkers on, just walked past. All of those fans, none of them were giving them grief at that point. None of them were giving. They were all gone to see them. And just ignore them is just shit. And I absolutely hate that. The Arsenal fans, the Arsenal players the other week as well, when they were signing the shirt, they didn't acknowledge the poor kid that was stood there with the shirt. It's just have a bit of decency. These are the fans, especially for the young fans. These are the fans that are going to be there for you, well beyond your time at the club. Show them some respect.
Les is saying the Spurs players did exactly the same thing. Do you know what I mean? It's just absolutely disgraceful. Yes, you got battered, royally battered, right? But then fans who've travelled a long way up, to see you put that in, the first thing you should do is go over and sign an autograph and post.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get the autograph thing, but just acknowledge them. And I think what it was it Kane that had to pull the players across to go and say thank you to the fan factory turning up. Yeah, and that's a measure of Harry Kane because he is that sort of player. But again, just acknowledge them, give them something, give them a little bit of thanks for coming, thanks for supporting us. We want to see you next time, all that sort of thing. Yeah. It's bollocks, utter bollocks, and to do that to young fans especially is just it's just shite.
They're the fans of tomorrow, and you're going to lose them as well. But as George says, their headphones say, I want to shut the world out. They ought to be taken off the players. They need to switch on. I think certainly for Leeds, George, that's a great comment. The shit that they're in, they need their fans even more. But it's an interesting thing because all the Leeds fans were starting to throw things out about Bielsa, right? Now, Bielsa couldn't defend to save his life. His defence was like Sharon Stone's legs, wide open, wasn't it? But the fact is, what he did for that club as a community and as a club, and what he created within the players. I mean, he had them picking up rubbish and everything, didn't he, to understand what people have to do to pay for a ticket to come to that game. Because Bielsa comes from a different wavelength of football where he's connected to the fans that are watching him, and that's why they loved him so much. And to go from Bielsa to this now, I mean, where was the fucking manager as well, Mark? I'd be straight out apologising on the telly, on the Leeds radio, on the podcast. I'd be apologising to the fans for that behaviour. I'll be saying, rest assured that will not happen again. I'll be speaking to the players. I mean, the captain, Cooper, walked straight onto the bus. He didn't even have any headphones on. He just walked straight into the bus. He didn't even bother with anybody, man. Disgusting.
Leadership,
But lack of leadership, mate.
It drives me nuts. There's a comment there about headphones and the thing. Look, I hate seeing that. If you've got your team travelling on a bus all wearing headphones, they're not communicating. That to me, that's a huge thing in terms of your team ethic. And I know the players like their sort of their pre-match routines and stuff. This is supposed to be a team. You're supposed to be good. If you're all cut off from the world, where's the connection between you? Where's the connection to the fans and everybody? It's just shit.
Yeah, I mean, that BT saying they did make a comment. It was quite interesting because I commented under it and said it's bullshit that it's just been written by some PR guy, and all the Leeds fans said the same, and even Gary Neville called him out for it and said people can see through these bullshit comments. Come out and talk personally yourself about it. Don't hide behind PR. But anyway, we digress. We're slightly moving off topic there, but I just wanted to get that off my chest because I can't believe that. I mean, even when things were bad for Newcastle United, there you go. Trips would have went mental, David. You're totally right. He would have dragged them over. But even when things were going bad for Newcastle under the Ashley years, under the darkest times, right? Our lads always had time for the fans, always stopped for fans outside the training ground, always stopped for fans outside the stadium, always went over and clapped the fans, even when we were shit and turned in the worst performance ever. Our players never did that because they understand how important the Toon Army is to them and how they need them, unless they're listening to it. Very nice.
Not going to knock into that.
He has got a point, yeah. He couldn't hear the poor kids say, can I have an autograph? Because I was going, fucking Steve Bruce, yeah, fucking. You couldn't hear over my voice, sadly, but it's there's no excuse for it. It's absolutely horrendous. But listen, go back to Newcastle United, Mark. After looking at that graphic, right, I'm going to put you on the spot. Where are we finishing? Third, fourth? Where are we finishing? Or below? I'm having you on the spot.
Let's go back to that game's left.
What we got left?
Manchester United have, I would call, a very easy run in.
It looks that way, doesn't it?
I think Brighton is their only legitimate challenge in that run. I think Newcastle have 2 in there that would prove challenging in Brighton and Arsenal. I genuinely, I think you finish 4th.
Yeah, William's gone 3rd. I tend to agree with you and Jack. I say 4th. BT says, why not aim for 2nd? Love it, BT. The confidence, mate.
Well, if Arsenal do a Spurs, which sounds an odd phrase, but they've done it before where they've completely capitulated. It's
at
10
St. James's
points.
Park as well.
It's 10 points. They've got to play Chelsea. They have to play Newcastle. They have to play Brighton. Then they go to Forest, who are battling for their life. They then got to play Wolves last game of the season. Wolves are one of the weirdest teams in the world. Where they got absolutely smashed at the weekend, but then looked great a couple of weeks ago. So, Arsenal could have a complete and utter meltdown.
I can't see it though. Yeah. I love that. Community Shield for Newcastle should Man City win the league and the FA Cup. Absolutely class. Love that. Imagine us being part of the Community Shield. Yeah, hopefully we'll do a better job than we did last time we were in there. But I think
you don't know what happened last time.
Oh mate, I was watching that. The bloody Barcelona Man U fans don't fancy that again. So I think for me, I'm going 4th as well. 3rd would be great, but whether it's 3rd or whether it's 4th, I don't really care. Long as we're in the Champions League, and I think we are looking like we're shooing to the Champions League. I can't see us dropping as many points to fall away from that picture. Obviously, we'll cover the Arsenal game in a preview this coming week, but I fancy us to get at least a draw against Arsenal, Mark, if not beat them at St. James's. Nobody wants to come to St. James's now, especially if you're in a title race where Man City have just jumped over you. Pep will be licking his chops thinking, fucking hell, they've got to go to St. James's Park. Good luck with that.
Yeah, what happened to them last season? And they came in and they capitulated there. I think the crowd will be massively up for it. The Arsenal have looked shaky, and they've missed a couple of players that they've desperately missed. Saliba at the back.
He's been a huge miss.
And Newcastle could take full advantage of that. And if they do struggle, then it's all over anyway. The City's title, I think, regardless of anything. But Newcastle could really put a number on them, and that could be. They could then drop, because we've seen it happen with them before. They're still fairly young. They're still fairly fragile, although they look tougher this season than before. There's still that fragility to them, where the Southampton game was one, the West Ham game was the other, the Liverpool game too, where they've just fallen apart at times, and you have to take full advantage of that.
Ooh, that's a great question by David. Do you think we can challenge for the Prem next season? We dropped so many points this season. All that will depend on the summer and who we sign. I really believe that if we sign 3 or 4 quality players that get into the starting 11, never mind the squad, which we'll cover in a minute, and a few different names, then I think we could have a good shot at it. We'd have to go somewhat to try and challenge City, I think, but generally, I think we could definitely be in the picture. Possibly, maybe the first kind of 3 quarters of the season potentially, but it would all depend on injuries and everything else, whether we could stay in the picture or not. But something that may help us with the summer transfer window, lovely segue, and I love a segue, Mark, is sponsorship. So nice. The news, expertly done. The news broke of the fun is over We're going to get rid of Fun 88. We'll come out of that deal early. I'm full of the night, mate. Full of the night. We're going to get out of that deal early, and there's a £25 million shirt sponsorship deal with a Middle Eastern company that isn't in Saudi, apparently. Nobody knows who it is. But, I mean, the main thing for this, Mark, is one, thank God we got rid of that shitty Only Fools and Horses £8 million a year deal that Mike Ashley did with Fun 88. And, secondly, this is going to help, isn't it, with FFP?
Yeah, hugely. And look, there were still salty comments online this week about, look, it's just, more money coming in, oil money. And it's like,
more blood money. No.
Just shut up. Look, it's for a team that is going to be in the Champions League, it's fair cop. And I think there were Spurs fans giving it shit until somebody pointed out to them that actually Spurs deal is worth more. Which shut them up rather quickly, because it was a comment along the lines of, how can Spurs compete with things like this? And it went, Spurs' deal's worth more than this one, so fuck off.
Here's another thought: stop sacking your managers.
At least have some sort of knowledge of your own club before you start having a go at somebody else's. But yeah, look, it's huge. I mean, this is the way that the club had to. And I think now you will start to see more of those little pieces come through. Now that realistically you can see the end product for this season, you can see the fact that you're going to get Champions League football. Those deals that went quiet, the ones that we're talking, they're coming, but you wait and see what the final finishing position is going to be. If Champions League football, the numbers are going to be much higher than if it was Europa. So those will come now.
And the TV revenue is high this season because we've been on more and more because of how well we've played and how much we've been in the top four picture. So the TV revenue money is obviously a lot higher as well. So I just think it's going to be nothing but great times in the summer with this extra money coming in. Like you say, Mark, league finish, Champions League football, new sponsorship deals. It's all going to help us go out and sign those 3 or 4 starting players or, game-changing players that we can add into this squad. If we finish 3rd or 4th this season, Jesus, could you imagine what we're going to do next season? As Les says, they're getting 10 million quid for a 4-part series too, and that'll include even more commercial revenue off the back of that as well. People that want to sponsor, a part of the ground, that want to sponsor maybe catering or whatever it may be. There'll be loads of stuff coming in as well. Yeah, as William says, there 3rd or 4th bonus money, shirt sponsor, TV revenue, Amazon. We will be all good. I think we've got a Chelsea fan in the comments there, Mark. Should we pull that one up there? Let's have a look at that. There's no bitterness there. So CFC Shav, 3rd or 4th, Newcastle deserves Champions League football. Thank you for that, mate. Absolutely mental the football you guys are playing. Really good season. Genuine top 6 side moving forward. What a summer transfer. Thank you very much for that, mate. Good of you to say. You guys are having a really tough season. But I think, the right manager coming in, if it is Pochettino, a bit of money behind you, I think Chelsea will probably get back into the picture. They can't be as bad.
Money behind it. I'm sorry. Jesus, after the last 6-7 months. Christ.
I forgot for a minute there who I was talking to. Money spread over 15 years. But no, I think Chelsea will definitely get back in the equation because they can't be as bad as they were last season.
That goes back to the question about, can you see Newcastle challenge for the title next season? I think it will be much more... It's one of those where I think it will be more difficult next season because I think Chelsea will improve. I think obviously you've already got Arsenal on the up. You've got City who will always be there now. You've got Man United who are improving under Ten Hag. Liverpool will be better again, especially if they revamp their midfield. Spurs, they're Spurs, so God knows. You've got Villa on the fringes.
You've got
probably. See, if they finish lower down, does Son move on as well? I mean, he'd be massive miss too. So, like I said, you've got Villa on the fringes. You've got Brentford hanging around the outside, Brighton as well, who are going places and building all the time. So there's going to be a huge challenge in that top 8 now. And certainly for the league, I think that it will be a slightly more open race, I think, next season than really this one.
It's a good point by Peter there. We'll be tighter next season. And we've took a lot of people by surprise. I think a lot of people did take us for granted, and before they knew it, we were right up there. But it should be a really exciting season. Just before we get stuck into the transfer talk, we've got 78 live at the minute. And just before it gets too late and people start nodding off the bed, Mark, why don't we do our 3K prize draw just before we leave it too late and everyone's gone to bed? I just looked at the time there. So as you all know, we've passed over the 3,000 subscriber mark. So a massive thank you to everyone who's clicked that button. Amazing for us. We're not even 2 years old yet as a channel, and we're on 3,160 something. So absolutely buzzing with that. And because of that, we've got a nice little goodie bag to give away. So I'm going to pass you on to the lovely Debbie McGee, or Mark, because Debbie McGee is not available, and he will tell you what the goodie bag is, and also pull a name out of the hat, Mark.
Magic. There you go.
Magic.
I can't do the voice, but there you go. So yeah, I mean, just a massive thank you from all of us, from me and Chris, from everybody that's involved, that we have on with us on a Wednesday. It's just, I mean, really the last sort of couple of 4, 5, 6 weeks have just been insane. We've only been as evermore since the December of 2021. So, and this isn't a full-time thing. It's not anything that, we kind of we've thrown an awful lot of time at this. And it's so rewarding, isn't it? Yes, William, honestly, I am tempted. I've got to be honest with you. It is very
no
tempting
returns,
to
William.
package him up.
No returns. Do not send that thing back.
Absolutely, there will be a disclaimer that says you cannot fetch him back. No, I honestly, he's a pain in the arse, but I wouldn't be without him. He's lush. But yeah, just like I say, just a huge thank you, because you guys that get involved in this, absolutely, and it's going to sound completely cliched and completely corny. You guys make it worthwhile. You guys getting involved in the comments and the crack that we're getting, especially on a Monday, because there she is.
I had to put that up. There we go. Go get that cat sorted, will you?
Honestly,
she's
got a marketing head on, because she sent us a text message before saying we've got to do Evermore t-shirts with Cooper's face on them.
Oh, there you go. There you go. It's going to be a TikTok
not a bad idea.
But yes, massive thank you to everybody. Mark's going to cry in a minute. He's a very emotional man. It's the cat scratching his leg. That's what it is. It's nothing to do with him being sad. It's just blowing away his skin. But listen, Mark, tell him about the goodie bag and then we'll pull the name out of the hat, because we're ticking on nearly 11 o'clock, so we'll get there.
We are. So yeah, I think you went through it the other day. It's one of the St James's Park Anyone signs that we'll put in. One of our lovely mugs that I've got on order, and it's on its way. And then a signed program by the one and only Lee Clark. Was it from 91? Did you say it was
1991 against Ipswich? 1991. Yeah. He even remembered that he missed a chance in the game when he signed it. He was pissed off that he missed it. He hit the bar or something. He remembered that. So.
What a man! But no, it's just a nice little pack, as you put it. It's 3K. It's three little prizes to go with it. So, we'll do the draw. I'll just get the page up. I have put everybody into this random name picker. You don't want to see my emails. That's not something you want to see.
Don't see that. See that one.
So there we go. So we've got everybody's names in the hat. So I will just go in to pick a random name out of this hat. There we go. Randomly picked name is Les.
Oh, Les! Congratulations, Les!
Congratulations,
you have won the prize. Superb, Les. Drop us a private message, mate. Give us the postcode, and we will send the 3K goodie bag over to you. If Les is still with us, he normally is in the chat, but he might have gone for a sleep. But congratulations, Les. Buzzing with that. He's a long-time listener. Comments on loads of videos, so really, really happy with that.
That sounded so night owl. It's a long-time listener.
It was. Oh, there it is. It was you, Les. It was you. Congratulations. Well done. Superb. It was very Alan Robson, awesome. There, wasn't it? But yeah, send us a DM, Les, and we'll get that all sorted to you. And I'm pretty sure the Lee Clark program won't go to pieces inside the box we send, George. I'm pretty sure. I hope anyway. So we'll get that all sorted. But just a comment as well, actually, from Chelsea Shav there. I really appreciate this, mate. Just saying, loves the content. He's been subscribed for months. He's a football fan first, but he loves articulate, level-headed debates, rivals or not. Absolutely brilliant. Love that. Thank you so much for that, Shav. You're a credit to your support, mate. I know some of them give you bad names sometimes, just like our fan base. We've got some fucking knackers in there as well, mate. But good to see you in the comments. Really appreciate your support there, buddy. Absolutely class.
Tom,
and Les is getting some congrats as well. Max is saying well done. William's saying well done as well. And we've also got Ashley, well done as well. And also Ticoin is giving you a round of applause, mate. So absolutely brilliant. Drop us our private message, mate. We'll get that all sorted. Peter is foaming. He wants a VAR decision, mate. He feels robbed. Give us 20
this
minutes.
weekend. Jesus. Honestly, with some of the VAR decisions again this weekend, you don't want VAR anywhere near it, Peter. Jesus, seriously.
It'll take us ages to check it, it really, really will. So absolutely brilliant. Les just say, well, thank you. Not on Twitter, etc. But again, Jules to send us a DM. Yeah, that's brilliant, Les. Do that, and we'll get that sorted, and that'll wing its way over to you as well, which would be brilliant. And we are targeting the next milestone is 5K. I was in the time off market, and I picked up a little belter of a prize for the 5K. Not to give it away, it's an absolute corker, to the point where our very own Lee Forster said he wanted to win it. So yes, keep your eyes peeled for that one, guys, because the 5K one is going to be an absolute belter as well. Mugged off again, Ash. That's right. Don't worry, mate. We'll get you an evermore lamp so you can brighten up your room next time you're on, and we can see you again, mate, which is great. Yeah, Peter was bored. You're absolutely right, mate. But we just thought we'd do that early, guys, to get that sorted. So just moving on to the transfer tales then, Mark, which obviously we've been talking about earlier on there. So there's been a good few players linked, and some coming and some going. We're starting the players coming in. So there's a lot of noise that Eddie Howe and Dan Ashworth have been talking, and I think three players prominently featured on the transfer hit list. One was James Maddison, not surprisingly enough, and the other one is Moussa Diaby by Leverkusen, and then the other one is Kieran Tierney, who seems to divide opinion a bit in the fan base. Just on Tierney for me, Dan Burn's done brilliant at left back. He's not a left back though, we know that. He has been caught out by a couple of wingers who have tied him up with knots a little bit. Forgetting the injuries for a minute, Tierney is a quality left back, mate, and he can play as a centre half as well, which he does do for his country. So, and he's still a young player, Tierney, mate. Isn't he? So, to me, I'd be quite happy with that, boy.
He's a cracking fullback. I'm not going to do him a disservice in saying he's not any good. Shoot,
God bless you, Les.
I remember those days. Awesome. Funny enough, or just subject, we got into the subject of play-by-mail football the other day, which I remember getting from what was the back of the Shoot magazine. So that's the second Shoot reference in the space of a week. But no, look, Tierney is a cracking fullback, and you're right. It gives you a little bit of versatility if you wanted to move him inside, if injuries and stuff like that. So, but his injury record is awful.
They want 30 million, did they? They want 30 million quid for him. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, I think people have said you're getting an absolute steal if you get him for 30 million, but he's had an awful since he joined Arsenal. He's had so much time out. It's quite scary that, and truth it would be exceptional. I always come back to the one player though, and that's Alex Grimaldo.
Yeah, he'd be a great
save. You can bring him in on a free transfer. That is a sensational piece of business. And he will give you the balance with Trippier. He's going to get forward. He can defend, but he's going to get forward. He can give you the variation from set pieces as well. So that would be my ideal signing as a left back. I get Tierney. I understand it's a work ethic. It's all of that work built in.
Yeah, and he'd be closer to home as well, Scotland, for the player. So potentially it could be a good move for the player as well.
And I think he's an Eddie Howe type of player.
He is an Eddie Howe type of player. Yeah, he's a hard worker. He's a leader as well. Being captain before the country and everything else, he's a leader. So, you know what I mean? He is a good shot. Dybala is an interesting one. I don't know whether it's just agent talk trying to ramp up a move for Dybala. I can't see Dybala, as good as he is, working for Eddie Howe. I mean, people are talking about Maddison, whether Maddison would be, an Eddie Howe type of player. I think you could get Maddison to adapt his game to the Eddie Howe philosophy. I'm not sure you get that from Dybala. He's a bit of a luxury player, isn't he? A bit like a Saint-Maximin type player, but with less pace.
He is, but he's a bloody good footballer.
He's a fantastic player.
If it's cut price, what an option! And it's not. It's about the squad, isn't it? Now, and you have to have different options. And again, he's another difference maker. He's another player that will do something completely different to everybody that's already there.
Champions League experience as well. Champions League experience,
big game experience. He's a cracking footballer, and
Tierney's got Champions League experience too. People forget about that. Celtic and Arsenal. Well, not Champions League, but Europa. But with Celtic, he had loads of Champions League experience against big teams as well as a young player coming through. And Andy's right, his Arsenal mate rates, and my dad's a Celtic fan and he loves Tierney. But I think it's an interesting one, Mark, isn't it? So, I mean, the player's been linked there. The one that really excites me is Diaby, is Moussa Diaby. I think when you look at that front three, the way Wilson's kicked back on, because I was thinking we're going to need a new number 9 in the summer. I'm not sure we do now. Maybe a young striker who can sit in behind Wilson and Isak and come in and just right on cue. BT's reading my mind there. Moussa Diaby. So if you think about that front three in Champions League football, if you had Alexander Isak, Callum Wilson, and Moussa Diaby stepping out of St James's Park in a Champions League game as your front three, that's pretty fucking tasty, mate, isn't it? By any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I mean, look, Diaby is one that has been on the radar, I think, for quite some time. He's a fabulous footballer again. My only hold up is the ones that have come from, and I've said this before, is the ones that come from the Bundesliga and don't do an awful lot. And I know Haaland's an exception to that rule, but Haaland
could go anywhere though, mate, couldn't he?
Haaland comes from a different planet altogether. I'm not sure he's human.
50 goals now.
You called him.
Are you watching that, Rory Jennings? 50 goals.
Jesus. But look, I mean, Diaby playing on either wing can be exceptional. His return in terms of goal contributions over recent seasons, 15. These are league only, but 15 in 2021, 25 in 21-22, and he's on 16 already this season in the Bundesliga. He's exceptional, and he started off quite poor, I think, this season. I think he'd had a little bit of a wobble in the summer when things, nothing sort of came around and moved, but Leverkusen have done all right. He's picked up and just got better as the season gone on, and he's a damn good. I say he's a damn good footballer. And I think the right age, the right mentality to come in and really tear up with the rest of the Newcastle players, especially with the likes of Isak and Bruno and stuff. So I think he'd be a perfect fit.
Yeah, I mean, the comment there about Diaby is just so expensive, says William. So his decision making is questionable, but the talent is there. I mean, I think we're going to have to go bigger. I think Audie said this as well, that we will break our record again, Alexander Isak record this summer. And I really do think we will. I think the Champions League will have to. We have to buy at least one or two outstanding players. I mean, people are talking about some replacements for Shaw there as well. I think Sean was saying, he said Allardyce was linked with Leeds, bloody hell. Poor Leeds.
Sam Allardyce is a replacement for Fabian Shaw. Jesus, now there's an inside one.
Just give myself a nightmare there. We're just saying, a younger Shaw, he's saying, is it Todibo? The Todibo? I don't know that is, mate. Does he mean the AC Milan? Does he mean the ex-Chelsea lad?
No, it's I'm just looking him up. It's a French lad. I can't remember who he plays for.
While you're looking him up, there's another player who has been linked, and that's Antonio Silva. Antonio Silva from Benfica as well, the 19-year-old centre-half. He looks fucking quality, him. Him next to Botman would be pretty incredible, I think, mate. Again, Champions League experience.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's another young one, isn't it? It's bringing in some of that ilk that can start to take over from Fabian Schär. I'm trying to think of others that you'd maybe look along those lines.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
Oh man, do you know what? He gets knocked, doesn't he? But he's the only centre half that I know that scored. Was it 19 goals he scored one season?
I tell you what.
Unbelievable.
To be fair to Steve Bruce, as a player, not as a manager, he was a cracking player, dreadful manager, but good player, no doubt about that. But I do think we need a right-footed centre half to challenge Shaw for his position. I think we do need that, but depends about where you're going to get them from, really, isn't it? That is the big question. But in terms of players going out, there's been a lot of talk about Saint-Maximin this last couple of weeks. Now, he might not play again this season, and a lot of people are saying this could be him done at Newcastle United. And I know he's got this weird cult following within the fan base, but apparently Spurs are interested in him. Arsenal have now expressed interest in him, and AC Milan have expressed an interest in him. Now, you don't know if that's concrete or if that's his people trying to whip up interest in the player. But just real quick, Mark, yes or no, has Allan Saint-Maximin played his last game for Newcastle United?
Ooh.
I've done this twice, you know.
Do you know what? I think he possibly has, you know.
I think he has. 100%, I think he has.
Had he stayed fit and he played the rest of the season and he played well, I think he would have been given more of an opportunity. I do think that he probably has, because he's been so patchy. And just when you think he's starting to turn the corner and look like the player that you want him to be, he's got injured again. And I just don't think it's another one that you just can't rely on.
That was so
Mowbray's. The fact that that's happened to Jurgen Klopp and Tony Mowbray in the same weekend is just so funny.
But I'm not going to get into Jurgen Klopp because we'll have another hour here. But I mean, he deserved that. That was karma at its best. Shithouse, pulling his hamstring after mouthing off and squaring up to the fourth official. What a prick! Honestly, man, deserved it. Absolutely deserves it.
He's become. Look, when he came into the league, and I'll be quick, but when he came into the league, I loved him. Absolutely loved him, because
he was great. A
little bit like Mourinho when he first came to the league. He was exceptional. He was a breath of fresh air. He was funny. He was that genuinely warm sort of thing. You call him Jurgen Stropp. He's just a moaning, whinging git these days, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a whiny faced bastard, and that's all we do, Ash. Literally, this is the Maxi Basham channel, as you rightly say, mate. Obviously not. I jest, but I think a lot of fans are starting to lose patience with Maxi now, because you know the craziest thing is about him is that he has got loads of ability, but this season, because like you say, he's been out so much, other players have really stepped up. Even the likes of Jacob Murphy have really stepped up, and you're starting to look and go, don't really need this guy. We don't really need this guy to win games. We don't really need this guy to finish top four. He's not really been available for a large chunk of the season. Yes, he's had moments, and he always has moments, Maxi, but there's never enough moments. There's moments every now and again. There's never enough moments for him. And I think with that inconsistency and that lack of fitness, for me, I think Eddie Howe's already made his mind about the player. And I think that's why he's gone.
I think that's as much as he would be. If he stays, that's as much as he is. I don't think he's anything but a squad player. He's not an automatic starter anymore. I just don't. It's so frustrating, because you so want him to be that spark, don't you?
Yeah.
Playing down left or right, he's so good with the ball at his feet. And those moments of flashes where you look and you go, that little bit of understanding between him and Isak that I talked about a couple of weeks ago just looks so good. And you thought, we need to see more of this from him, because he lights the league up. I've said it probably 100 times. There isn't another player like him in the league.
No.
Probably except Alexander Isak now, to be fair, because he's doing some of the things that you would expect Maxi to be doing. And I just don't. It's so frustrating, because you want him there, you want him to be flying down that side. I just don't think you can rely on it.
That's a good comment by BT as well. He's not been as impactful as Bruno since he arrived at the club. It's understandable why we don't want to hand out any new contracts to him. Andy's saying that he'll get 5 minutes against Chelsea to show how fit he is for a transfer. Davey said he's all for himself, not a team player. Peter says he struggles with no end product. Kevin saying last time he scored, I think, was that Wolves game. I think it was, wasn't it? He has had a couple of assists.
Hell of a goal as well.
Yeah, and he also agrees with us about Maxi. And William makes a good comment there, saying that our offence looks more fluid without him. Credit to him for finally coming around, but it feels like it's time to move on. I do agree with that. And just this point on what Alan says, Mark, as well, how is a massive summer ahead of him, because our squad is very old lads, left back plus midfielder plus striker for me priority. ASM bench player next season, but will he settle for that? You already said it, Mark. I don't think he will he? He won't settle for being a squad player.
I don't think he'd be happy with that. He wants to be. I think he probably craves the Bruce style of where he's the main man. He's the one that you get the ball to. He's the one that you're allowed to do whatever he wants. Is Rafinha in that same mold? Is he?
Possibly.
I mean, he's an exceptional footballer. Would he command star status? Would he fill in as? I know he was. Although having said that, I'm going to backtrack on exactly what I've just said, because under Bielsa he was just brilliant for Leeds, and he
The
did
right
work
manager,
hard.
get the right out of him.
Exactly right. So I think that the work ethic is there for him. But it's, again, that's an awful lot of money you're looking at shelling out for him to go out, when I think there are probably better options. But he does have Premier League experience. He does have Champions League experience. He's another one. He'd be a good one to bring in if that was the way that Eddie decided to go for you.
Could be a slightly cheaper alternative to Diaby potentially, but we'll have to wait and see. But Derek's saying that both Ice Cool and Alex and Willock are making Maxi think a better opening game. Yeah, I mean, I think the most frustrating thing with Maxi is when we've seen him of late, he has looked better. He's done things like he never used to do before, like those through balls to Isaac and stuff like that. A header across goal for Willock for the goal against Man United. You know what I mean? We haven't seen Maxi do that a lot, and it does look like he's trying to make a conscious effort to do something. But I just get the feeling that with these injuries, like you say, Mark, and the other players have stepped up, and we know we're going to bring in better. And he's probably thinking, I just don't need him. Do you know what I mean? He's somebody, and he's a sellable asset, isn't he, to balance the FFP? You'll get a bit of money.
This is exactly what we said the other week, wasn't it? It's one of those where you possibly don't want to, but he's going to bring you in cash, and there's not an awful lot of that in the squad, and balancing the books. It gives you the ability to then use that money on other areas that probably are of more higher need, and you're not going to get any. There's no one else in the squad that you're going to get anything like that money for, that you're willing to move on.
You want to sell. You actually want to sell, yeah. I mean, the pop images is saying that he'll go to the right club. You're probably right, mate. And he will play well. He will excel for them, and he will do something. But yeah, I agree with you. I just don't think that him and Eddie maybe are compatible. Kevin's saying we'll be linked to 200 players, which we probably will be, and we'll be covering them all on Rumour Has It.
All of them.
Every single one, all 200. And how many will we sign? Peter's probably right, I think, Mark. 4 to 5, do you reckon? That's probably about right. I reckon 4 to 5 starting.
I think 4 or 5 seniors. I think you'll probably see the same again, if not more young players that will come through the door, or be ones that will maybe come in and be sort of put out to loan elsewhere. So you're probably talking 10 players overall, maybe, but only 4 or 5 of those for the squad. But if you ship out more squad players, then that number might be higher.
Absolutely. Alan agrees with you. Yeah, you've always liked Alan Thompson, mate, haven't you? Spot on, Mark. ASM under Bruce. Do you want to go back to France a few days, come back for the match? Under how he's got to work for the team. Is he a team player? I mean, he seems like a good character in that, doesn't he? And a lot of the players seem to speak quite highly of him. I saw somebody the weekend who knows somebody who lives near him, and apparently he's a lovely lad, really nice character and all that. So I don't want to sit here and slack off his character, but I think from his ability as a player, it's not in question, but it's whether he fits into what Eddie Howe is trying to achieve, and I'm not sure that he does. I mean, weirdly enough, he is the type of player that could light up a Champions League game out of nowhere. Could you imagine Maxi running at people at the Nou Camp or the San Siro or something like that? He would live for that. He would thrive for that. But I'm just not. He can't even get in the squad now in the Premier League, really, in the starting 11. He's not going to get in the Champions League squad, is he? Really, let's be honest. So
I think if he stays, he's definitely he'll be in the squad and he'll be an asset. But I don't think he'll want to stay, because he's not going to be the star. He's not going to start week in, week out. And it comes back to the comment from somebody earlier on. Is he going to want to do that? I'm not entirely sure that he will. I think he would probably then look to want to move on. You mentioned Eddie Howe before as well, obviously, given what we talk about. I like this one.
Oh, God, yeah. Well, if you haven't seen that video that we did already, Stu, which is actually our biggest viewed video yet, so we do probably have to say thank you to Paul Merson being an utter fuckwit. It's I think Merson's always going to be like that. It's just the kind of character that he is, really. He's just an absolute twat. Comment there. So Steve Bruce is a carry lad, Chris. He's a good manager. He's a good manager. Well, I don't know about that, Alan, mind you. Yeah, maybe check out tomorrow's episode, guys. I'll see you next Tuesday and tell me if you agree. Not to give too much away there, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. The thing about Lascelles, so I suppose a couple of injury updates to finish off the episode, Mark. So Kevin's saying Lascelles could go for good money, and I think he probably will go for good. Well, I would say go for good money, but I think Lascelles probably will go in the summer. But there has been some talk about him staying. But obviously he's injured. He's missing the rest of the season. But also the good news is that Sean Longstaff had a scan and he hasn't broke his foot, which is brilliant. Because I think we do miss Sean Longstaff when he's not there, mate, don't we? That midfield just doesn't seem to gel together as well without Sean there.
It's funny watching it. Well, not funny, but you kind of get a point. When you looked at the way Newcastle started the weekend with Joe Linton on that right-hand side of the midfield three, he looked lost. He genuinely, at times, you could see that it was then trying to reacquire where he was on the field again because he's so used to playing down that left-hand side. And it is a bit of a changeover for him, especially for somebody who's not played that position his entire career. You do miss Sean when he's not there. And look, he was another one that was absolutely vilified earlier in the season for being rubbish and not contributing. He was a huge miss in the game against Villa. Absolutely huge in that midfield because he works so hard. He puts the miles in. He gets involved in absolutely everything. He gets forward. He helps going back. He's constantly harrying the opposition midfield. And brilliant that he hasn't picked up a break and it is looking like he'll be okay before the end of the season because the talk was before the game that he was done for the season.
Yeah.
So that would have been a shame for him because he's had an exceptional season.
Absolutely. I must admit, losing Sean, huge blow. Losing Lascelles, not really a massive blow for me. You can jiggle that back four around. You can put Target in at left back and move Burn across to centre back if anything happened to Shaw. I know Eddie doesn't generally like that, but yeah, for me, I think losing Lascelles isn't as big of a blow, to be fair. Just a comment there from Derek, who's just reminded me to say to everybody, please like the video. It really helps get around YouTube. But with a good percentage of thumbs up tonight, folks. Fantastic. Cheers for that, Derek. Really appreciate that, mate. A couple of comments coming in there as well. I've just seen another one. What was I looking at there? What was I looking at? This one here. So Harvey Barnes is another one, strongly linked to us. Prolific, solid winger. Watched a bit of him tonight. He was doing his best to make something happen. Young player, I think plenty still to. That was the comment I was looking for. Plenty still to come from Barnes. I think I would take a dabble on Barnes. Mark, how much is Barnes going to cost? What, 30, 40 million, maybe more?
Probably. I think you're probably looking at the same sort of fee as you would maybe for Maddison with a year left on his contract. He's got bags of pace. He can finish. You get him in the right team with attacking intent. He'll cause damage. He's a very, very good player.
We've got one, Andy. He's called Kieran Trippier, mate. I don't think Lascelles has been captain ever since Kieran Trippier got that armband, mate, to be fair. This is the comment I was looking for from Pop Images. Do we need cover for Pope? He's been solid this season. Lost track of the other keepers. Do you know what? I think it's a good show. I mean, it's weird because you kind of want a younger keeper underneath Pope, don't you, who can step up? Or do you want an experienced keeper who's happy to be a second fiddle, a bit like we had with Harper and Given? How do we play that one?
It's a tough one because you as a keeper, you don't want to go and sit on a bench. But to learn from somebody like that, to learn from the coach and staff, and as a young goalkeeper, maybe who's out there, that's maybe the next one. I don't think you're going to bring in a high level goalkeeper in that regard.
It's good comment by Kev. Karius is decent cover. If he wants to stay and be cover, Karius could be cover.
Yeah, do you know what? I do like Karius. I think he got given an awful bad rap after the Champions League final. He proved in the Carabao Cup final he's a good goalkeeper. He had a shaky couple of minutes at the start of it, but he looked good and would be a good serviceable backup to Nick Pope. I think that's a decent shout. There's a young lad that you've just brought in from Ireland as well, isn't there?
Yes, for the development squad. Yeah, he's supposed to be.
So I think that's then the future sort of aim, isn't it? But somebody like Karius, a little bit older, played big games, played in the Premier League, played in the Champions League, coming and will be probably, given his last few seasons, will probably come and be happy to be part of the squad. And I don't think that's a bad move at all.
What about mentioned there by Derek Fraser Forster for Pope cover, and he counts as an academy player for Europe. He's got European experience as well from Celtic and from maybe from Spurs as well, if he's played for Spurs in Champions League.
Spurs number one now.
He is Spurs number one, isn't he? But that's not a bad shout, though. I mean, I think Fraser's come to the end of his career. Maybe he'd quite like to finish it at Newcastle, possibly. It's not a bad shout, that. He did all right against us at St James's. Obviously, that save from Gordon was decent.
Yeah, again, he's a decent goalkeeper. You're right. He's at the wrong end of his career, really. Although the longevity of goalkeepers, is more now, I think, than ever. It has been before. The question marks about him would be his ability with his feet. And I know that's labelled at Nick Pope as well, but I think that more so for Fraser Forster. I think he's much more of an old school style. He's not terrible, but he will, again, he'd do your job if you ever needed to call on him. He's not going to be your number one. That is obviously going to be Nick Pope. I think that's the kind of shopping level. I think that's the market that you'd be in, that kind of goalkeeper now.
Yeah. And he's talked about, was it Forster from Hexham? He is from Hexham. And I think somebody said, Kevin said, I wouldn't want to see Ben Foster at 2. I'm sick of seeing his flaming face. I tell you what, he seems like a lovely bloke, though. He's full of crack. But yeah, I must admit, it would be a little bit of a sideshow, wouldn't it? I must admit, it's not great. But I think that's what's pretty much wrapped up. We've been on for an hour and 17 minutes, so we overran slightly this evening, but we had quite a bit to pack in there. So massive thank you to everybody who's jumped in the comments. Really appreciate it. Always helps the channel flow, as Jens has said there. Thank you very much, Jens. Really appreciate that, mate.
Thank you.
We hope you guys have enjoyed it. It's nearly bedtime for everybody, but just a reminder, if you're new to the channel, if you haven't checked us out before, consider subscribing. We'd love you to come and join us. Loads of room for new subscribers. We're over 3,160 something, but loads of room for you guys. Smash the like button as well. Help get around YouTube. We're going to be back with Evermore on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, where we're going to talk about a few things, certainly all things Callum Wilson as well, and talk about how well he's doing, certainly for April. Hopefully he can do it for May, as well as look towards the Arsenal game at the weekend. So until then, everyone, let's keep supporting that team, McCoy United. Have a great evening, everyone. We'll catch you later.
Take care, guys.
Is it one of them actually? It's more like a Callum Wilson one. I'm trying to get the old salute done there with the old spin. See you later, guys. Take it easy.
Let's go.
Let's go. Bye-bye.